the wonderful honor of interviewing Josh Demunrun, a Korean War veteran who served 3 different deployments, and he had so many stories that were sobering.
Really well. He had several stories, and it was hard to pin down one, but we got one, and I'm really excited about
it. We got hit by an IED one night. An IED, just for the record, is improvised explosive device. It managed to blow off all 4 tires on our left side off, and it breached the hull of the armor or the vehicle.
Where?
Kind of midsection on the left side.
Okay.
And a fire had kind of come in from the outside or caught something on fire on the inside. I don't know which it was. But I remember getting down because I was standing in the hatch.
Okay.
And my squad leader, who was Sergeant Mercado, he was trying to blow the fire out with his mouth, which was hilarious. And I was trying to yell at him, but he was ignoring me. Or he wasn't really ignoring me, he just was focused on the fire. So I reached forward to grab the fire extinguisher off the rack, and the vehicle behind us, because it was night, the bomb had kicked up a lot of dirt and dust.
Okay.
They couldn't tell that we weren't moving.
So typically you drive through and deal with it later.
And you assess damage and injuries on the other side, because you don't want to get caught in an ambush.
Right.
And because we weren't moving and they couldn't tell, the vehicle that was behind us slammed into the back of us, causing me to topple forward into a bunch of water and rations. And I don't know, having Mercado, Walker, who was sitting next to me, he flew forward. He chipped a bunch of, like a whole row of teeth on, I think, the left side, because he jammed his face into something. Barker, who was our gunner, was trying to climb out at the time, and he didn't lock his hatch back. So when the vehicle hit us, the hatch had come down right on his wrist and shattered his wrist. And then Nunnick, who was our driver, I don't think he really had suffered any injuries there. He did have smoke inhalation. Of the, however many was that?
5?
Yeah, 5 guys in the vehicle. Walker broke teeth. He went to the hospital. Barker broke his wrist. He went to the hospital. And Mercado and Nunnick both had smoke inhalation.
Okay.
So they went to the hospital.
The story had a good mix of, like, there was a little comedy in it, and not all the stories could have comedy, so I wanted to incorporate that. And it's also got a big theme of kinsmanship and being there for, like, your friends and your people around you that you're fighting alongside. So I wanted to put that in there, and that was a big mission of Josh's, was to be there for his platoon, his fellow soldiers.
Hello everybody, my name is Travell Brown. I'm the playwright and director of The Integrity of a War Hero. I was able to interview the storyteller himself, Billie Jean Milan.
Billy actually had I wouldn't say perfect, but almost perfect memory of everything that he's been through, and the stories that he explained, they were like movie scene, like just off the explanation of them with the detail.
The NBA and the VC, they had women fighting against us. Well, we couldn't really tell because most of the time they picked up their dead and disappeared. But I shot this NVA, I thought, on the DMZ after the Marine, they came back to the States and we had to take over. Well, I was the platoon sergeant, so my platoon was in guard of an ammo bunker. And all of a sudden, me and this guy named Greenhall he was from California. We were sitting there bulljabbing. He said, "Sergeant, why why we have to do all this? I said, well, it's part of the thing. He said, the Marines are getting old. So we have to cover them. I said, don't worry about it. I said, our duty is to guard this daggone bunker here.
But the story I remember in particular was the one where, the one I'm scripting about where, him and the Vietnam soldier, it was a woman and he didn't believe in killing women, but he didn't know because her hair was tied up.
And Billy's stories instantly popped up in my head as Hollywood box office. Within the play, I wanted to bring out Billy's actions of humanity and integrity and how it was so substantial in Billy's experience in the Army. I thank Billy for all the great stories, and I thank you all for coming out. I hope you enjoy the integrity of a war hero.
We caught fire and it was running. I thought it was a man. Sapper was going to throw into the bunker. So I shot. I said, dang, and it failed. I said, oh my God. So after it was over with, we went out there. It was a woman. A North Vietnamese woman. She had her hair up underneath her helmet. And when she took it off, she said she was letting me know that, she was wounded. So I told my medic, I said, check out. He said, Sarge, you hit that main artery. Said she's gonna bleed to death. But I think she understood that. And she asked me to put her out of life. Man, I can do that. I said, although my father shot and stabbed my mom, I said, I'm not like him. I said, heck with this. And I just took my 45, took the clip out, I already hit a round in the chamber, and cocked it back and gave it to her. She looked at me, and she smiled, put her finger to her lip, and put it to my lip, and she shot and killed herself.
You get a bunch of guys together, you get that camaraderie going. We played jokes on one another all the time. And that was the fun part. We did things in the barracks, like short sheets. You know what short sheeting is? Okay. Not that you know what I thought you were. We put shaving cream in their boots, all kinds of weird stuff. You didn't know when it was going to mess with you. We had one guy that cracked me up. He was a clerk. And we got up in the morning about 5 o'clock at the barracks. He'd go out and run about 5 miles and come back, clean up, shave. He'd go to mess all your meal and be on duty by 7:30 or 8 o'clock. His clerk, he didn't go on duty about 9 o'clock every day. So he's laying in his bed asleep. And everybody said, we ought to do something to him. So one night he went out drinking somewhere and come in and smashed. So instead of taking his clothes off and his bunk, he's flopped down. So he's laying there with his fatigues on, see, had his boots off. So we go down to the broom closet to get a broom. Run up through his pant leg, underneath his belt, out his neck here on his shirt, see. So we get down the bottom of the steps, fire, evacuate the building. He gets up, I can't, I'm paralyzed.
No, I've never heard that before. That's so neat. That's so neat.
Hey, sir, there's a ditch just up ahead. If I flood a gas, we'll go straight through it, right? Yep, that's what you want to do. Go for it. I'd hang on tightly if I were you. Why? Oh, you'll see. What was that? That was our Yankee getting us stuck in the ditch for the first time. Not too bad for your first time. Now, boys, get out. Start pushing.
Sergeant Goodall loved his tanks. He not only verbally talked about them, but he visually showed us them. He showed us his passion that he had for them. He had a passion for those tanks, working his way up from being a driver, a loader, a gunner, tank commander, platoon sergeant, and senior tank commander. These pictures not only showed us history, but they showed us what Sergeant Goodall loved. They showed us his passion. They showed us what he wanted to do when he left to go to war.
Training.
Well, all of my buddies I served with, I got on email. We talk
Do you
to
keep in touch? Okay.
about every day, you know.
Really?
And also, I'm a member of the color guard here. We do military funerals. I've buried quite a few of my buddies.
The unique thing about Sergeant Goodall is that he's still friends with all of his friends from the military. He emails them every day on a day-to-day basis. They get together sometimes and still talk about the good old days that they had overseas. He has friends here in Orangeboro, and he has some friends in Florida.
Oh, that was back in 91.
She was there for you whenever you actually fought?
More than that, she was there for me all the time. Wherever I went, she always said, I'm coming.
This is Colonel Pickett. Colonel Pickett is the oldest veteran that was interviewed. He had a lot of stories. He had a lot of stories about his love life and stories about him fighting. This is a great man, from wise man to students. Colonel Pickett, who fought in World War II, was an amazing man with great stories.
And so they started going together in class. And so they made plans that she would go with him to the senior ball. And she told me, she says, I told her he should take me to the senior ball. She said, would you be kind enough to give him a car ride to take her? Take me. So I had him and her. And I was thinking very serious of her because the very night I met her. You know. And so anyway, we got to the point where she said, would you take him to the ball with me? So I said, of course. So I got the car, my parents' car, and took her and him in the back seat. And while we were at the ball, her sister said, when you finish taking Bo to his home, said, Grace would like very much for you to stop back by. Wow, that was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a hold of Bo and got in the car and drove him to his house. And he said,
Go get her. What do you mean? I saw the way you've been looking at each other. She is a very beautiful woman. Ed, she wants you. Go get her. And you know, even though I didn't get the girl, I still had a fun time tonight. And I think I'm gonna be okay. Oh, thanks, George. I really appreciate it.
took him back to his home, went back to see Grace, and we had words. Her words, my words, both words, that we were going to be going together.
It wasn't necessarily about violence, but it was more about like the politics of everything he talked about, because that's what he dealt with was communications between everything. So we talked about politics more than he talked about combat. And obviously like he carried around guns and things like that just to protect himself. But for the most part he talked about like his experiences going back and forth and traveling and stuff like that.
And your story particularly focuses on the family element and trying to keep the family together.
Because, well, since they did have a daughter, it was they could kind of raise their own family, like with other families that were living on base, and so they didn't necessarily have like a family unit like her daughter's grandmother. So Lou's wife, Linda's mom didn't meet their grandchild for like 5 years, the first 5 years of her life, because they were in Korea. And so I think that having that, you kind of have family that isn't necessarily your real family, like the people that are also there, the other soldiers are your family. So that was interesting. And same with like the other mothers were her friends, and like the other kids were their daughters' like friends. They didn't really have anywhere else they could go because they lived on base.
They were all looking after each other. So the military was one big family.
Well, he was actually technically in the Marines, but he was a linguist for the Marines. So I think that's kind of interesting that he was in the Marines, but necessarily he didn't really, you know what I mean? He was never fully, he was trained, but he was never fully trained to be in combat. He was trained to be a linguist, and so he could speak I think he could speak Korean and Japanese were the two that he spoke and wrote completely, because that was his job.
Every morning in Seoul, South Korea, a U.S. linguist woke up. They went to a shift as part of information liaison group between South Korea and the United States. His name was Luke, and he was stationed there with his family, his wife Linda, and his daughter Melissa. Linda would go to the library every day while Luke was on shift, and Melissa was at school. Melissa's school was on the north side of the Han River, and so was the library. Their home was on the south side of the Han River. The problem Linda faced was in case of evacuation, those south of the Han River would be taken to Okinawa, and those on the north side of the river would be evacuated to Tokyo. If evacuation occurred while Melissa was at school, she would be split from her parents. So Linda spent most days in the library. They lived on base with other American force bands. They were a tight-knit community. The mothers did this every day. On October 27, 1979, the American base went on high alert. On the night of October 26, 1979, the President of the Republic of South Korea was shot and killed by the Korean CIA chief at a dinner party. There was a lot of unrest within the student population of South Korea, and the President, Park Geun-hye, criticized the chief of KCIA for not stopping them. The chief of KCIA shot the President after being criticized. Linda and other mothers sat outside Melissa's school all day, so they were sure they wouldn't be separated from her daughter in case of evacuation. Over the next few days, still on high alert, the mothers of the American Force community would sit outside the school on the south side of the Han River, dedicating their days to staying with their children. The government was in disarray, and conflict arose between units that were pro-president or pro-KCIA. During this time, the American forces were on the sidelines, not taking a side. They also weren't sure how and if North Korea was going to react. Lou was very busy trying to pass as much information in South Korea and the U.S. during his shifts.
I can't do this anymore, Lou.
What do you mean?
I don't think it's worth it anymore. I think it's time to go home.
What do you mean go home? Linda, we've been over this. This is our home now.
This is not a home. This is a base, and it is no place to raise a family. At least not anymore. Not with all this uncertainty.
Listen, we'll about this more later, but I have to go. Otherwise, I'm going to be late.
No, what if something happens to you? What if something happens to me?
Linda, I'm going to be fine. And for the last time, we are going to be fine.
You can't promise that.
You're right, I can't. But listen, things are difficult now, but it'll all get better soon. You can't tell me that you want to leave all your friends here at this time and this level of uncertainty. That's unfair, and you know it.
But this is no place to raise a child. That's unfair to me and to Melissa, and you know that.
I think of Melissa every day. Some mornings I wake up and I think it would be best if we could just leave. But we can't leave everyone behind right now. You can't tell me you could sleep at night knowing that we've done that. Can you?
No, I couldn't. But I'm scared, okay? I'm scared. I'm scared for you. I'm scared for me. I'm scared for our friends. I'm scared for Melissa.
Listen, I'm scared too, you know.
I know, but you just don't show it the way that I do. It makes me feel like I'm not strong enough.
Linda, you are so strong. I've told you once, I've told you a million times, this is going to get better. And soon, everything is going to go back to normal.
When?
Soon. I promise.
How can you promise that?
I can't. But just think this is another adventure for us. For our family.
What adventure? Linda was frustrated with the lack of certainty of the American forces in Korea and scared for the whole family's safety. However, both Lou and Linda knew they both had a duty to their family, a duty to the family they had on base, to go on unshaken by the recent events. They continued on high alert. Linda once again packed a bag and spent the day outside the school in case of evacuation with other mothers. After those days of high alert, the pro-president and pro-KCA groups came to a political solution. The American forces were not on high alert anymore. The American forces went back to business as usual, and thus ended another adventure for the Drawdy family.
Yeah, it was really, I think it was about love. It was a lot like about love and like, because for him, it wasn't like he was drafted. What is it called? Wow, I should know this. I'm writing a script about it. What is it called when people serve for like their whole life? It's not, if they're
non-commissioned.
Yeah, and so he served for like 30 years or something. So it was more of a career for him, and it was more of, yeah, he was very dedicated to it, and so I found that to be like interesting that it wasn't, and especially since he was a linguist and wasn't in combat.
I remember my father grabbing me when I got home, 2 or 3 days after I got home, says, "Come on, son, we're going somewhere." And we rode around to all the VFWs and American Legions and in the area, because Dad had been around a long, long time. He knew all these guys, so he was introducing me to everybody, and that had its good times and bad times. Most of the places, you know, it was a pretty good thing, but some of them, the World War II guys were real standoffish towards Vietnam veterans because we weren't in a war, we were in a police action. Man, whatever, brother. Bullet coming at you, I don't care what it is, it's war.
And you couldn't even get the respect from it.
But don't harp on that, please. I mean, it's just a fact of life. That's the way it was. And it wasn't terrible. The overall experience was good with the veterans of World War II in Korea.
What a nice thing that your dad took you around to all of those places, though. Really,
Introduced me to
try to give you that support back home. Give you an idea. Lucky to have your dad.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Reggie, and I'm the writer of this play, The Last Mohican. The Last Mohican is a play about David Nash, aka Taylor. Taylor he's amazing. He got the nickname Tater by him liking mashed potatoes. And the story that I wrote today was an amazing story because it's heartfelt to me, and I feel like you guys are going to enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Go Bears.
All right, son. This is Fort Branch. This is the first VFW I visited when I arrived home. I met a lot of good buddies here. I hope you can do the same. Hey, Sally. Can I have 2 Bud Lights, please?
Sure, coming right at you, Mr. Beige.
I'm going to find some buddies, like you, Pop. Maybe they'll help me feel not so alone out here.
I know you will, son. You'll feel great once you find some friends.
I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. But I can remember watching the world go by as I'm sailing through here. And son of a gun. So once I got up, straightened around, I didn't even realize I was wounded. And then after that, we had to go out. 6 of us had to go out and refortify a perimeter bunker that was being assaulted. Remember the 3 battalions I was telling you about? They were getting hit real hard, so we had to go out and fortify them. When I jumped down in the hole, I couldn't bend my left leg. It wouldn't bend. What in the heck is going on? Oh man, what is this? But it doesn't hurt. There's no pain involved. But I had to raise my boot up over the firing hole. So I'm sitting there with my boot here and my rifle here, and I'm cussing the whole time. Don't you dare shoot my foot off, using much more flavorful language. But we held the line and made it through the night, and away we went. So it's funny. It was funny. If I could use more colorful language, you'd get more of an image.
I'm sure you put that on stage, but you know.
No, you don't want to do that.
Oh, that's funny.
But you know, all things said, doing just fine. We lost 13 men that night, and that's not good. They're on panel E53.
How many of you were there?
13 died that night,
And how many-
including my sergeant.
How many were actually there on that hill with you?
600? 500, 600, something like that. Somewhere in there.
I think it's interesting if you're saying you don't, you should, but I don't think of, I feel like sort of clerical and people that were doing logistics and then very separate, but it sounds like everybody was doing everything. You had to be master of all trades. Everybody had to be able to fight, everybody had to be able to defend.
Yeah, in the United States Marine Corps, everyone is an 0311. That's a rifleman.
Okay.
Everyone.
What
0311.
0311. So no matter what your
No
job
matter
is.
what your job is, you are a Marine Corps rifleman first and foremost.
Yes. Which is why you put your foot up on the fence and started firing.
Well, I did that because I didn't want anything else to get shot.
Sure.
And my friends, I mean, I was there with my buds.
Yeah, you're all in there together. All together. That's amazing. That's amazing.
But then the next morning, I went to BAS, Base Aid Station, and they pulled it out. It's a little corkscrew. If you ever did any metal work, when you're lathing something off, it makes a little corkscrew of steel. It was like that, stuck underneath there. They pulled it out. I mean, it really wasn't any big deal. Got me a Purple Heart, though. It made for a nice story.
Yeah, extraordinary. Absolutely.
Oh, one of my hometown.
Absolutely. Son, about the Purple Heart, do you feel like talking about that? Because I am very interested in the story behind that.
Oh, you received a Purple Heart? My brother got one when he was in the Army.
Yep, I did earn myself a Purple Heart. You know, Pop, this is probably the one story I do love to tell. I feel like it's my favorite. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in front of a tent, fixing up on something, whenever I heard the shots.
I have been waiting to hear this story.
So, whenever I heard the shots, I started fixing up, or finishing up the job I'd been assigned. So I finished the work I'd been assigned, and I heard a couple more shots. Whenever I heard those shots, I started crawling around, looking for my bag, so I could put my tools away and I could leave. I didn't realize I'd been hit until I tried to walk. That's when I put a towel to my leg. Once I was hit, I knew I didn't want to get hit again, so I had my gun out and ready.
Was there no one around to help?
No, everyone was busy firing back. So there I was, limping around, my hand on my leg, which hurt like hell. I was so pissed. I had my gun out and I was yelling, "You mother effers! You shot me! You better not shoot me again!" So I was shooting at them, and I was trying to find someone that could help me. And finally, I made it back to the med, and they pulled that bullet right out. I was praying that I'd make it through. So yep, that's the story of how I got my Purple Heart.
So you got the Purple Heart. And what was that?
Purple Heart you received for being wounded.
Is that, so that
Remember
was
the
when
boot
they wounded?
up in the air?
Sure, I do.
that was
Purple Heart
shrapnel in my knee.
Okay, so the Purple Heart is when you've been wounded in combat.
In combat.
So everyone has that.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want one with a black inset though. Those are posthumous. So you don't want a Purple Heart with a black inset.
What did you do with it?
I gave it to my father. Sent it to him in a package, eyes only. So I didn't want Mom to be the one to get it and open it.
So they gave it to you really while you were there?
Oh, they gave it to me.
Discharged?
No, they gave it to me in Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And is that normal in all sort of conflicts in all wars?
I couldn't say. I believe so. I mean, it was pretty much
didn't know it was
normal
that
for us.
immediate. Okay.
Yeah, I got it like I don't know, a month or so later. So back in that day, we had remember Polaroid cameras, where you take one a picture, come out there black and white. So I took a picture of me with the Purple Heart on, so they'd see that I'm standing, I'm good, and I put it inside the Purple Heart box and sent it to my father. That way, he's Mom, he's okay.
So you got just to make his life
Exactly.
so more peaceful.
Exactly.
So you weren't scared at all?
Nope, not before, during, or after.
Was there anyone who was?
Honestly, there were people who were scared, and that was fine. But none of the guys I served with were. Let me put it like this. We knew what we were signing up for. That's why we weren't scared. I'll tell a person if they're scared, they should not sign up.
Just couldn't physically or mentally cope with those things. Do I have any animosity? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've been asked a lot of times, well, how do you feel about the people that went to Canada to avoid the draft? If you remember back in the 60s. You know, and my response to that is, good for them. I didn't want anybody over there that wasn't ready to protect my back, because that's why I was there. If they don't want to be there, haul your ass on up to Canada. Go ahead. I have no animosity. I didn't have any animosity when they let them come back to the United States.
Because they would have been a liability. Otherwise.
They would have been a liability. I didn't want nobody there that didn't want to be there. There was draftees in Vietnam, don't get me wrong. There's people there that didn't want to be there.
Right.
But when the push come to shove, they were there.
Exactly.
You know, you've heard, and I'm not a super religious man. I do believe in God and everything that entails. And one thing I will tell you, I've never met an atheist in a foxhole. That saying that you hear, when you're in there and everything's flying, God is your very best friend, and you are talking to Him. no matter what, you might be an atheist, but when you're in that foxhole and lead's flying over your head, you develop a relationship.
You want that.
Yeah, you want something.
More than her helmet.
Son, remember when you first told me you wanted to join the Marines instead of the Army?
Yes, sir. I was 17 and I was intent on going.
Remember when you told me why?
Marine Corps. In 1968, if you turned the television on, you saw what was happening in Vietnam. Okay? And I wasn't the greatest fighter in the world at that particular time in my life. And the reason I joined the Marine Corps is I figured these are the men that are going to teach me what I need to know to get my young white ass back here. And as it turned out, it worked.
I wanted to join the Marines because I knew the Marines would teach me what I needed to know to survive.
Did it, son? Did it teach you?
Bet your ass it did. I'm proud to say I'm a veteran of the United States Marines.
That's good, son. I'm happy you did. I love you.
I love you too, Pop.
Tolerant of stupidity. I really detest stupidity because that's just laziness. People not taking time to find out their facts or to think something through. I don't have a lot of time for that. And I get into discussions and that's where it's coming from and I just, excuse me, I need to go somewhere else.
Young kids, respect your soldiers, you know, show them respect. Thank them for the service. Respect the flag, because they did it for you. And a lot of these kids today, they don't know history like we did.
Oh, they don't.
They don't know nothing. And they believe a lot of this garbage some of these college professors are putting out. And it's just crap.
But the respect isn't there.
If you don't learn from history, you do them repeat it. And I watch TV a lot, news meetings. I see a lot of these, they go to a college, they'll set up, interview these kids, ask them this and that. They don't know anything. Maybe 1 out of 10 will get it correct. The rest of them don't know what war George Washington fought in or who President Kennedy was. You know, they just don't know this stuff. And this is our best. What's going on here? You know, it's wrong. It's not right.
So it's very different when you came back to Indiana.
Oh yes, it was great when I got back to Indiana. It was terrible when I got to LA. It's terrible.
How long had you actually been in Vietnam? How many, had you come home before, or did you have?
Oh no, it was, we were serving 13-month tours in Vietnam. Yeah, the Marine Corps did 13-month tours. Now, let me quantify that because I was there in 1969 and 70, and we had the pull down. Okay, so I only had to serve 10 months in Vietnam.
Okay, that sounds right. With those dates only, but yeah.
Yeah. Another 3 months, it might not have been so good.
Gosh, so you were there right in that transition. So you kind of knew that reaction was happening to people already before you were deployed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of knew that it was not popular.
Yeah, it was not popular at all. But I'm sorry, that's I'm here to serve my country. And although our country is made by all of us that live in it, you people don't mean nothing to me. Go ahead and do your protesting and stuff. Do it in a calm and respectful manner, and I got no problem with you. You start burning cars and breaking windows and stuff, I got a problem with you. And most veterans will feel the same way. We fought and bled for your right to do these things, but not to destroy property, not to hurt people. We're against that. And I speak for the majority of the veterans. I feel in my heart I do. I mean, they all don't come up to me and say, "Hey, Tater, say this."
Sure.
But we talk amongst
What you said
ourselves,
resonates.
and I know where they're coming from.
I know, like you said, World War II, everybody was treated like heroes when they came back, and then Vietnam was very significantly less so. Actually, World War I, World War II, and Korea, all of them were treated well. And for whatever reason, Vietnam was just hell for a lot of the veterans coming back.
Yeah.
And I'd say for the most part, either people just generally, whatever, or, it was a lot of positive, thank you for your service, whatnot. But there were one or two people, and the only place that I ever really experienced that was in Washington State.
Oh, interesting.
Because they're very, very liberal out there.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the few times that I had ever experienced that. But it wasn't anything, like, I don't even really remember the experiences. I just remember being talked rudely to, and, maybe I responded not so well, but I think we had more of a mentality of, and I mean, I don't really know how a lot of the Vietnam veterans reacted. I don't know if they just kind of walked away,
right,
and just didn't respond. But the way we responded is probably not great. But it's really interesting because even in those times, in those couple of times that I experienced it, there was usually other people around that would come to our defense too. Like, why would you talk to them like that? They didn't choose to go over there, but they have to because that's what they're here for.
Right.